Madam Mayor, recording has begun.
To the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? All in favor, please indicate, any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. Hope you had an opportunity to look at both of these. They were very quick minutes. Do I have a motion to accept both minutes as presented?
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the meeting minutes dated November 15th, 2022, and approval of the closed session minutes dated November 15th, 2022.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to petitions, communications, appearances, and comments. So right now we have the representative for the La Plata Small Business Association. If you guys could come down here, and council, if you wouldn't mind joining them down here. Oh, okay, good to see you. Good to see you. Well, come on over here. You're gonna be in the hot seat here. We'll push you guys over so we'll have counseling on the other side. Well, we know that Saturday is the big day, right?
Absolutely.
So we had recognized you before, but we want to present this to you, and I'm not going to read it again. You can look at the tape on that one, but we are so pleased that you all are doing the small business shop Saturday. We need to keep people shopping locally and keep these businesses thriving, and you all doing the fun things such as, I know the police are involved with this. I guess there's some villains out there that are going to be there on Saturday, and it gets the whole family involved. So thank you so much for doing this. Council supports you, and would council like to say anything?
Look forward to shopping tomorrow.
Just thank you again for your engagement with the town. That's so important for our community. Thank you.
Would you like to say anything?
I would, just to say that Dr. Monica Algar has been our planner and coordinator for this event, and she's done a phenomenal job. And we're all looking forward to Saturday and getting everybody out, seeing the town full of shoppers. Colleen Wilson from the town has been fantastic to coordinate with and work with as well. So it's a great partnership on all parts. And the La Plata Business Association, the town, it's just going to be a great time for everybody. So look forward to seeing you all out here. We've got a lot of things going on between Santa and the motorcycle riders and the villains and you name it. And great deals and a great town to shop in. So come see us.
And looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. I don't really know what the weather is, but it's gonna be beautiful anyway. All right, can we get one shot right here? Ready, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. We'll see you guys out there. I did not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Good to see you again.
We've got started.
Oh, okay. And we do have a proclamation for December, which Councilwoman Bryant Ward will read.
Actually, we made the switch off. I'm going to.
Oh, my gosh. All right.
This is a proclamation that's entitled Month of Fellowship, December 2022. Whereas the holiday season gives us all the opportunity to gather the loved ones, friends, and colleagues. And whereas residents, businesses, and social groups have identified the community spirit within the town of La Plata as a cherished aspect of life in La Plata. And whereas the town of La Plata is home to diverse populations who celebrate the holiday season in unique ways. And whereas the town of La Plata recognizes that not all citizens enjoy equitable levels of quality of life. And whereas the holiday season gives us all the opportunity to appreciate our blessings and share them with others less fortunate. Now, therefore, we, the council of the town of La Plata, do proclaim December 2022 as the month of fellowship in the town of La Plata, Maryland, and do encourage all of our citizens to celebrate the spirit of the season in a meaningful way and engage in activities that inspire joy and harmony for all members of our community. And the proclamation is signed by Janine James, Mayor, James Goldsmith, Councilman, Matthew D. Trollinger, Councilman, Evelyn Bryant Ward, Councilwoman, and David M. Jenkins, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next on our agenda is public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak this evening? If so, we ask you to state your name. If you live within the incorporated town limits, and if you could limit your comments to 3 minutes, that would be appreciated. Mr. Town Clerk, do we have anyone?
No one present has signed up to speak, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. Next are the department head, monthly reports. And the first one up is the chief, hoping that you all had an opportunity to read that. Good evening, Chief. Do you have any questions for the chief that have gone unanswered?
No, but I would like to comment. I mentioned before the meeting actually started. It's been a busy month for your department, very busy month, good and bad. But they've been professional in every way that I've seen. So congratulations to all of you.
Any other comments?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Again, I just want to reiterate the level of sustained community engagement by you and your police department. I think it speaks volumes of your professionalism and the level of professionalism in the department. And frankly, it really shows through even under tough times like we had a couple of weeks ago. So I just want to publicly say that again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Chief, I love that there's going to be a little bit of levity on Saturday with all the fun stuff. So it's a good break for our officers, and hopefully it will be a day that will be enjoyed by all. So thank you for doing that again. The kids love it. All right.
Thank you.
Director Harrington, up next with planning. Do we have any questions for Director Harrington's report?
Madam Mayor, I have a question again, Councilman Jenkins. I believe I had a question, but I think the town manager previously answered it with respect to trying to develop a draft letter to the State Highway Administration with respect to advancing the traffic signal at Willow Lane, Charles Street, in the entrance to Pine Grove. Apparently, I guess the town manager, you'll talk about that later, or now it's your call.
I can address that now. I did meet with various representatives from State Highway. I believe there were totally 15 people on the call yesterday regarding the Route 6 study and basically associated with the monies that were appropriated by the state on Charles Street. And I did bring the intersection with Pine Grove to light, and the town's wish that that traffic signal be put in or installed sooner rather than later. Did not get a real fuzzy feeling regarding that. So we will draft the letter and see where that goes. They had some people from the district office on the call, and they sort of went back to the standard line of the warrants needing to be met. So that will be considered as part of the Route 6, not to get into that, but at the same time, as it pertains to the letter, we will be sending that letter.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Director?
And just one other question, please, ma'am. You mentioned in your report that one of your priorities that you're working on, and you have many, I get that. You're working on a development capacity analysis.
Mhm.
Could you just briefly explain what are the components or what is it? And when can there be some kind of a initial draft?
So the development capacity analysis originally came around when we were looking at school seat allocations, trying to plan for what development was coming down the road. So we had done one a while ago that I basically just reached out to the developers and said, how many do you think you're going to do per year if you get approvals? And so it was just a very broad development capacity analysis to kind of see how many school seats we might be looking at as I was trying to work with the Board of Education. So in kind of trimming that down and looking at the developments that we have on the books right now and the proposed developments, we are looking at not only how many school seat allocations we could do per year, but also taking into consideration our water and sewer capacity, because those would be a limiting factor as well. So I have received some numbers from Director Stahl, and I'm kind of crunching the numbers to try to put that together to come up with a more realistic capacity analysis for the next 20 years or so, just to see what our development might look like and how many units per year we would see. So I'm hoping that by the beginning of the year, I'll have something that's substantially finished that I could share with everyone.
And then not to add to the work, but so could this at some point in time also include how it affects other services like police and trash and parks and recreation, or is that a bridge too far?
That's
now?
beyond me, but I can certainly share it with our other directors and management and say, here's what I'm seeing. What do you think that this would do to those other areas? And we can look at it.
Thank you.
If I may, that was one of the reasons we did the organizational assessment, to try to identify areas that we would need to grow the organization
Mhm.
as we took on more rooftops. So I think we're in a position to be able to adequately address that. It's always a matter of finding the money to do it, but with the additional rooftops, additional revenue. So we're hopeful.
Which then leads into the fiscal impact on the town for all that as well.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Director Stahl, do we have any questions for Director Stahl on his report that have been unanswered? Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Stahl, what about the streetlights with SMECO? Where are we going with that? The plan to add streetlights to the town?
We are, as we have you, with each one of the new developments or within the existing
The
developments?
existing.
We're working with them to try and go back and look at the additional costs that would be accrued each month in the situation. But they are working with us on a plan to go back and to add additional streetlights where we've looked at it. I know Janine has worked on a lighting plan to look at it from a lumen standpoint, so that we're not just adding. We don't like to just add lights whenever someone asks for a light. We actually like to look at it from the lumen carry across the board to make sure that the light is necessary in each one before we add it, because it does create additional, because they're tariffed from SMECO every month. We do pay for both the capital cost of the light itself plus the electricity associated with it. So we do have a monthly charge for each one of them. And if we start adding lots and lots of additional lights, it certainly increases our bill every month, because we're also adding lots and lots of lights associated with all of these new developments. So those, as tough as it is, those costs do come back to the town under the general fund side of the town, and are paid out on the general fund side, not as an enterprise fund. So all that additional development that's coming in, yes, it's bringing in additional tax revenue to the general fund, but it is also something that's costing us an additional expense associated with all those street lights and everything else. So we're being a little bit cautious with it, but we are going to work on it through the the allocation for the lumen factor in each one of the developments.
So understood. Mine wasn't so much for just to be adding streetlights. It was from a safety perspective over in Patuxent Court. We talked about that.
Mhm.
And I was wondering if there was any movement or conversation to do that.
I can't add that right now. We've got two kind of issues over there in Patuxent Court, one with the stormwater management and also with the lighting. So I will make sure and prioritize that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions?
I mean, I have a comment. First, thanks for the patch job in Clark's Run. That kind of deteriorated pretty fast, so thank you for doing that quickly. And then number two, any response or feedback from the gentleman who came before us last week to talk about his particular issue on Arundel Avenue?
I spoke to Mr. Berry
Okay,
afterwards. I know Mr. Berry. The challenge over on Anne Arundel is not just to fix Mr. Berry. If you want to go in there and fix Mr. Berry, you have to fix every house on Anne Arundel Avenue. So it's a large project and it's not something that's extremely small. You have to literally go in there, and we have to, in some of the places, the stormwater management ditch is within the public right of way, and others it's not. And so there's a little bit of a legal challenge associated with it because we can only fix that which falls within the public right of way. But it isn't something, Mr. Berry lives right in the middle of Anne Arundel. And so you can't just go in there and recarve the ditch in Mr. Berry's, because then all the water will just lay there in Mr. Berry's yard. You actually have to go in and regrade everybody's yard all the way down to each end so that the water flows all the way through. And so it's not just that we've ignored Mr. Berry, it's just a much larger project. And as you know, we have 180 plus work orders in the system right now for stormwater management. And that one is not just Mr. Berry. And so it is a much larger project. He's aware of that. But we try our best in that situation. And that's just one of them that is a, you know, interestingly enough, Severn Drive, where Mayor Ekman lived, has curb and gutter. And so the water doesn't just flow over in the ditches. And Arundel, it's a little bit different scenario. I will say that personally, I have postponed it to a certain extent because I'm afraid that with the new requirements for lead abatement in our system, as you're aware, we have lead in our water system. My assumption will be that because Anne Arundel, I do know that because we've dug water lines up on Anne Arundel, that there are lead snakes on Anne Arundel. And we will have to be digging that street up, and that might be a good time if we get some infrastructure money to do that, to also regrade it, since we'll be taking, you know, and digging the street up at the same time. So I'm looking at that as the possibility to be able to do both at the same time.
thank you for that clarification. And thank you for reaching out to him as well. My only request, and again, not to get into operations because that's not my job, you know, just if we could somehow just maintain some contact and tell them we're doing this or we're not doing this, just as so we at least he knows that we're thinking of him, at least. That's all. Some system, particular system or something.
To be honest, we're not as proactive in this situation. We have always kind of operated behind the scenes a little bit, and we have to do a better job, as we've hired staff on, of being a little bit more proactive in being out there in that. And that has never been, you know, we've kind of been the out of sight, out of mind. You know, people go in and turn their faucet on and they expect pressure in their water system. When people flush the toilet, they expect that things just disappear. That's kind of been our approach in this, is to stay out of the public light and not bring that. But we are changing that as we're going on. We do have a work order system. There are many, many, many projects, but because of some of the challenges that we have had with fixing things and larger projects that just snowball into things that are much larger, it's hard because you put out a list. If I gave you a list of the 180 today, we would prioritize that. 2 days from now, that list will change because there's other great big sinkholes that open up. And it's hard to explain that to people, that I'm not doing your project now because another project opened up over here. I can tell you that we just completed a large project over at the end of Discovery Court in Jamestown. Right in the front yard of the HOA president over there, where we ended up having to redo the whole box and regrade the yard and put the whole new, we ended up putting in 200 feet of pipe just to get it back to an even scenario. We now are going to work, the next project we have prioritized is up on Oriole, because we've got a whole driveway where the whole side of the driveway has caved in. And so these projects end up being moved to the front and they become higher priority. We're still over working in Kings Grant, trying to get a lot of those cleaned up that have been on the list for many years. And it's very difficult to keep explaining to people, I'm sorry, your project has been moved back. And I had a very frank conversation with Mr. Berry about the fact that it's not that we're just ignoring his situation. It's that it is on the list and it's just a matter of when it gets to the forefront. But to be honest, there's, I have a water leak right now over on North Oak that we have to address. We've got the stormwater. That's a key priority at this point. We have a stormwater management project over on Oriole that's a key project right now. And so we're focused on that, right after the holiday to be able to get that fixed. And, as I said to him, I apologize for not. But as people are aware, we have somewhat, not necessarily financial limits, but just limits on, when we have crews available and when we can get contractors in. And it's not easy to just go out and get contractors in, and a lot of times waiting on materials as well. So it's not an excuse. It's just the reality of how we are today. I would also point out to you too, in your first question, the town has always turned in both a water supply capacity management plan and also a sewer capacity management plan, and we turn that in to MDE every time we see a significant change. The last one we did was in 2020. And so the numbers that we give to Janine, we update those every year, and we actually turn in a water supply capacity, and we've done that since 2008. So since I've been here, we've turned that in. And so we actually every single year look at that supply capacity management plan, and we're trying constantly to work back and forth between planning and operations to make sure that we're staying ahead of that curve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Stahl. Any other questions?
It's nice to see that we do have trash trucks in the system heading our direction.
They are actually going to be delivered to us, hopefully in the first 2 weeks of December. They were actually delivered to Tom's truck 2 weeks ago, and they're working on the installation of the bodies. So we are going to be hopefully receiving them before Christmas. So we're looking forward to that. It will certainly be a nice addition. Jeff and I were down talking with the drivers today and trying to look at the rerouting. When we add the third route into the system, which will hopefully make things a little bit easier as we add the third route in there to the system. So it should be a positive change for all.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, Interim Director Phipps for Legislative Services. Do we have any questions for Director Phipps? You have been doing a lot of work, so thank you for that. And your report was thorough enough. We don't have any questions, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is the matters of council discussion, the hub annexation amendment, and that would be Town Manager Brent Manuel.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, Town Council. As you're aware, the hub and Hawthorne Yards are back before you this evening. We'll start with the hub annexation, which is going to require amendment. And just to track back, if you will. This went through, it was introduced, it went through the clearinghouse at the state, the county. The public hearing was held, and at that time, we found an enclave issue. Again, at that time, the applicants requested that the process hit pause so that they could work to sort of remedy this enclave issue. And since that time, they have come up with a remedy. Provides for a 0.84 acre easement across the property of Hawthorne Yards, connecting to the existing town boundary. As part of that process, of course, that makes it eligible to once again come back before council for consideration of adoption of the annexation. In order to do this, we will need to amend both the annexation and the annexation plan. And you will see within the attached legislation, the agenda actually shows both numbers under agenda item. This is under the legislation. For the hub annexation, it shows both numbers, and that is due to an issue with the software where it does not allow for strike through. The larger number is the number that will apply, the 298.1996 acres. And that is basically the previous number, 297.3596 plus the 0.84 easement, 84 acre easement that has been produced to remedy that enclave issue. Just want to make you aware of that. I know Councilman Jenkins, you had mentioned you would like to have opportunity to discuss. I think this would now be the time to do that. Anything further? Nothing has changed as a result of this, other than the fact that the enclave issue has been remedied and it is eligible with the amendment for consideration by council for the annexation. So I would entertain any questions from the council at this time. If any of that.
They,
I'm sorry, thank you for the explanation. Go.
the issue that we've had, but also the hub, is the access to two entrances to the facility, to property. My understanding is, as far as the annexation, that's not the key point within the annexation. But when it comes to your master site plan, development plan, that will be a key issue at that point in time. And for me, at this point in time, I don't think I can approve it unless we get that second access down the line.
If I could, Councilman Jenkins, yeah, first of all, Mr. Mann, you did answer my one question. I was confused about why the acreage increased. Now I get it. Thank you. Councilman Golson brought up a point that I was going to ask, but in a different way. In essence, I believe there was, I can't put my hand on, but I believe there was some testimony that eventually the road, the spine road that would go enter the site from 225 and eventually go all the way up and intersect with 301 opposite Rosewood Road. Mm-hmm. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to build only part of it, and the remainder of it, they're going to say that they're going to give us the drawings and they're going to give us the permits, and then it's up to us, the town, to build it. Is that the case or not? Because I too have a concern with only one entrance to a development that's going to have 1,500 units in it. Or am I misunderstood? I thought I saw that someplace, but I'm not sure I'm right. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, and that may be a better question for the applicant. I don't know that the town's committed to installing any portion of road to make this connection.
Just a couple of points I think that are very important. We actually do show 2 access points on the master plan. What I would, and we actually have an opportunity for a 3rd access point, and we understand And I think it's part of our annexation agreement that's pending also before you, that as we go through site development and go through the plan, the town is not going to let us just go in there and start building. You are going to require traffic studies. If there are traffic improvements, I know we fully anticipate that there may be improvements at the intersection with Quailwood. We did hear very loudly from the public on that issue and are appreciative of that. Right now, your town code doesn't actually require a second access, but we built in a second access that we hope, honestly, because I want to get to the point of the other parcel, the adjacent parcel as well. But we did build in a second access. We have an opportunity for a third access point. But to Councilman Jenkins' point, this does contain the right-of-way and the alignment that's in the town's comprehensive plan and in the county's comprehensive plan for the Rosewick Road extended, Quailwood Parkway extended, however you want to call it, that would alleviate. I mean, it was interesting for me to hear the citizens speak because their concerns, actually, we're part of the solution in being able to provide the right-of-way that is in your comprehensive plan and in the county's comprehensive plan. The problem, to Councilman Jenkins' point, is that we control our property, but there is a parcel of property, as you know, between us and 301. And back in 2013, when this started, that was actually, part of this. It's a different property owner. I can't speak for them, but we don't control that portion of the road. However, what we do have is we have fully engineered this road, and as indicated during our process, have approvals. And I think it provides an opportunity, while we understand the obligations from our end on our property, and we understand all the steps the town will have us go through as we go through the development of the hub, which again is a long process, that it provides an opportunity to work with the town on finding solutions and potentially finding a way to address that issue. We don't control that land, so I can't build a road on somebody else's property. And I'm not necessarily sure, I want to be really careful that even if I could, that I should be responsible for building what is a major road. This isn't a small road, this is a big road, a large road. But I think it opens the door for opportunities for the town as we develop to look for solutions to that and to work with the town and perhaps engage the town to work as well with that property owner. And the cost of our engineering is not insignificant. If I recall, it's somewhere in, I'm going to let Bill tell the cost of it because I don't want to misspeak and then I throw out a number and I'm wrong. But it's not in the expense that we've gone to is substantial.
Yeah, when we looked at Quailwood Parkway Extended or Rosewick Road Extended, it's been in town's comprehensive plan in their traffic area for a long time and in the counties. It's item number 30, which meant eventually that was to be used more or less as a regional relief of traffic. So you don't have to come out 227 and everything. But that was intended to be built in the comprehensive plan with all public money. We as a developer, we are giving the right of way, kind of jump-starting this thing to help solve a global traffic problem. Before we knew it was feasible, we decided we better get our Army Corps permits for all the stream crossings. That was a big lift. And we got our MDE permits also for that road. And we engineered the entire road from Hawthorne Country Club the whole way out to 301. So it's all engineered. We can give you that package. We've invested somewhere around $1.1 million on that. So that's a pretty heavy lift that we're contributing. Plus, we're contributing our part of the right of way. The rest of the right of way can either be, you can take it by eminent domain because it is in the plans and so forth and complete it. but we're going to complete what we're going to be building on. Also, we have other access points, and I believe about a year ago, we presented them to Janine Harrington as an access map for potential access. We also have Parkway subdivision that we could come out on. We have Stargazer Drive that comes into our property. So we actually have, and as you know, right now we have the F2nd gone over to Mount Carmel. Now, that could have some challenges because we'd have to get more Army Corps permits and things of that nature, but not insurmountable. But when we get into the more detail of this, then once we need a second access, and Dave's correct, and you build something this big, whether it's in a code or not, it just makes practical sense to have more than one way out, okay? I live in Hickory Ridge. Sometimes I wish I had more than one way out. I can't get onto Route 6. We have 4 potential ways to come out, so we're not limited to one. But the ultimate solution would be to basically have this public-private partnership where we build part of the road, then the municipality, county, or state continues that rest of the road through. The Parkway, Rosebrook Road extended. So then you have a regional traffic solution for moving traffic.
And again, what we heard in the public comments, you know, it was hard not to jump up because everyone was talking about the stacking up at the light of 301 and Hawthorne Road. And of course, we're sitting here thinking that we're part of the start of this solution to get this connector road, and they won't be stacking up because they'll be turning there at that light. You know, I have to tell you, I live, as you know, I live in Nanjemoy. I already sort of do my cut through. I come across Valley Road and I go up Mitchell Road. So I know that it's a great solution.
Any other questions? Just for clarification, so if I say it, I understand it. Annexing in, we're looking at annexing in the property, but that doesn't necessarily mean the project that you have presented is going forward, because the council in its entirety, if they do not like that there are there's not 2 entrances or 3 or 4, they could deny the master site development plan. And that would, or tweak it, they not approve it as presented. Is that correct?
Well, it's even more than that, because what you have is you're bringing the land in. So you're correct, Mayor. What you're doing tonight is bringing it in. And again, remember, we can't go put a shovel in the ground tomorrow. We have an entire process that we have to go through with the town, with master site development plan, with each neighborhood. We are going to have to come in. And as development is phased and proceeded, as we proceed and as it's phased, it's not just the initial studies that you all will be requiring us to do for the first neighborhood. As every neighborhood comes in, you'll be requiring us to update those studies. And to your point, yes, we are essentially taking a risk because we're now submitting ourselves to your jurisdiction and your process, and we will have to work through that and ensure that we are providing the capabilities for water and sewer and roads to serve the citizens and to mitigate any impacts to the town.
Wonderful. Thank you for that clarification. All right. Any other questions? Great. Thank you for that. All right. So next on our agenda is the legislation. It's Hawthorne Yards annexation for consideration of adoption.
Oh, yes, Madam Mayor. We did have 4.2 Hawthorne Yards annexation.
Oh, did I skip that?
Yeah, and I didn't know if there was any other
Sorry.
discussion that needed to take place as regard to that specific annexation. As a result of the enclave, I don't believe there's been any changes to that annexation. But the applicant is here tonight and if there are any questions.
Council, do you have any question? I left my glasses upstairs. I'm sorry.
I have no questions.
All right. So now, back on track, legislation for Hawthorne Yards annexation for consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Let me take my eyes off. A resolution concerning Hawthorne Yards annexation for the purpose of authorizing the annexation of 53.2274 acres, more or less, of land into the corporate limits of the town of La Plata by amending the corporate limits of the town, establishing certain terms, conditions, and circumstances applicable to such land and to the owners thereof, providing for zoning of such land upon annexation, and all matters relating to the annexation of such 53.2274 acres of land, more or less, into the town of La Plata.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adopt? This is, oh, no,
Yeah, I just want to make a note that this is for the resolution 2203, which is the Hawthorne Yards annexation, as well as 2204 Hawthorne Yards annexation plan. So
so,
it's for both instruments.
okay, so I'm looking for a motion for resolution 22-03 and 22-04. Is that correct?
The clerk had just advised me we wanted to do them separately, so
Okay.
that is my mistake. I apologize.
No worries. So do I have a motion to accept resolution 22-03 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I would have make a motion, not a different a motion to delay decision because we have one council member who's not here tonight. And so I would just make a motion to delay it. And so we can have additional town council discussion. Right? Okay, but why is the first a motion to adopt? I don't,
This is just amending to correct the enclave. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
This is the Hawthorne Yards annexation.
Okay,
not the hope.
Hawthorne Yards. All right. So, and we didn't have any discussion beforehand on that. So I have, I'm looking for a motion for resolution 22-03 for Hawthorne Yards annexation.
Do we have to respond to Councilman Jenkins?
No,
No, okay. All right, I make a motion to accept resolution 22-03 Hawthorne Yards annexation.
do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
All right, discussion?
Do we want to take a vote tonight when we have one council member who's not present tonight?
We have a quorum.
I know, I understand that. I'm just asking the question, should we vote? Knowing we have a quorum.
Yes, I think so. Any other discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No,
Duly noted, motion carries. Resolution 22-04 Hawthorne Yards annexation plan. Do
Yeah.
I, Is that
Would you
this-
like me to read it? Yes.
Okay.
It's the Hawthorne Yards annexation plan for the purpose of approving an annexation plan for the annexation of 53.2274 acres, more or less, of land into the corporate limits of the town of La Plata, and all matters relating to a plan for annexation of such 53.2274 acres of land, more or less, into the town of La Plata.
all right, do I have a motion to accept resolution 22-04 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept resolution 22-04 Hawthorne Yards annexation plan as presented.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
no,
Motion carries. Brings us to 5.2, the hub annexation amendment for introduction and consideration for adoption. I think that's supposed to be adoption. Consideration for amendment or adoption. Again, not wearing
For
my
introduction,
glasses.
consideration.
There,
for amendment.
good.
This is for introduction for amendment. You have to accept the amendment of the previous legislation and then vote on the legislation. So you'll have 2 votes for amendment and 2 votes for the existing legislation as it stands now.
Okay.
Due to the fact that we're amending both the agreement and the plan. So the acreage changes in both documents. So Sorry, bear with me.
Oh, that's okay.
The purpose of authorizing the annexation of the larger number, as I stated, 298.1996 acres more or less of land in the corporate limits of the town of La Plata by amending the corporate limits of the town, establishing certain terms, conditions, and circumstances applicable to such land and to the owners thereof, providing for zoning of such land upon annexation and all matters related to the annexation of such 298.1996 acres of land, more or less, into the town of La Plata. So this would be the amendment to the annexation.
Okay,
Hub
thank you very
annexation.
much. So keep me honest on this one. So I'm looking for a motion for resolution 22-01A, the hub annexation amended.
First, you have to accept the amendment. So there has to be a vote to accept the amendment for both.
Okay,
So this is the first of two.
so do I make a motion or just consensus?
You want to ask for a motion to accept the amendment
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the amendment
for the annexation
for the
agreement.
annexation agreement?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept the amendment to the annexation agreement.
Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
Any discussion?
So,
Oh,
I'm still somewhat befuddled by this. So we're voting, I don't see in my package 20, resolution 20, this is this 22-01 or 001A. I'm not sure which motion this refers to. We're just changing the number. We're not adopting the resolution.
Town Attorney Gullo can tune it in at any time, but the documentation that was, or the legislation that was passed, that was brought before the council back in May
Mhm.
and the public in July
Had a different number.
had a different number. And because it's been amended,
Mhm.
the town attorney felt it was necessary for you to vote on the amendment before you voted on the actual legislation. I
So
don't
that-
expect you to get this. It's taken me a week.
So this motion is not adopting the legislation, it's just a change.
It's just
Exactly.
changing the acreage basically, which is necessitated by the enclave issue. The language was introduced, so therefore it has to be amended prior to consideration. Without the amendment, the annexation would not be eligible to be annexed because there would still be an enclave.
Mr. Gullo, do you need to add anything?
I think if you understand it, they've adequately explained it, but what you saw before has to be changed before you can adopt it. So this is voting just to make the change. You'll have another opportunity to vote on adoption. And you'll have to do this again for the agreement. So you have to do it for the resolution and then again for the agreement.
So should we proceed to the annexation at this point and then go back for the amendment for the plan?
Yes, I would do the annexation first. Making a motion to amend so that you have the proper description. And then you can make the decision on whether to do it or not. And that will render with a second question moot, possibly.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt the amended annexation agreement. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the hub annexation. All right, oh my goodness.
I think that, Madam Mayor, you're going to need a motion to amend the annexation resolution next.
I have a motion to amend the resolution annexation.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to amend the annexation resolution.
Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All right, so now, what motion am I looking for now?
Now, I believe you would take a motion on adopting the resolution or not adopting it.
Adopting resolution 22-02. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt resolution 22-02?
Just to make things more complicated, Madam Mayor, you have to vote on Resolution 2201, the annexation agreement, before you can vote on the plan.
Yeah, we have amended the annexation.
Okay,
So we are good to vote on resolution 22-01 at this time.
all right, so now this is a vote for, if there is a motion for resolution 22-01A.
Where are you saying A?
Isn't there an A right
No.
there? Is there an A? Am I looking at
It's
it
been
wrong?
amended, so I think the A would
The EA
signify.
just signifies that it's been
Is it
amended
on here?
to,
Yes. The
It's
amendment.
not- it's not in our
on
packet.
here.
no, it's not on the legislation itself, but if you read the legislation, you will notice that it is amended and that the title has been amended, but the number
I
has not
see
been
the
amended.
amended. I just don't see the A. I don't see that in our packets.
It's just what we named the file so that we
Okay.
would separate it.
So it's
Had to say it's on-
22-01. Okay.
Do I have a motion to accept resolution 22-01?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept resolution 22-01.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Now I'm looking for a motion to adopt,
To amend.
to amend. Oh my gosh, this is exhausting. Resolution 22-02.
I think, Madam Mayor, I believe you've made all the amendments you needed to do.
That's,
But I'm not there at the table to keep, the clerk can tell you, but you've already made 2 motions to amend and 1 to adopt. So it looks like you're missing 1 motion to adopt here.
okay.
That's my
adopt.
count too. So you have amended the legislation, you voted on one piece of legislation. You only have one more vote to go.
And that is to adopt 22-02?
Exactly.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt resolution 22-02?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 22-02.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All right, thank you. And that was an educational piece of legislation there. Please don't ever ask me to repeat that again. Thank you, Mr. Gullo, for being there for us and explaining that. I appreciate it. All right, moving on, new business, commission reports, Councilman Goldsmith.
Yes, the design review board met last time. There really was only one big item on the agenda, and that was the library. You know, we were not happy with the initial design of the library. It looked like the 2 big bay doors in the front. They have actually modified the facade of that, if you look at it, and actually made it look now more like windows so that it does blend in. And the design review board was happy with that and approved it.
Excellent. That is such a great project that's coming forward, so I can't wait until they start actually putting a shovel into the ground. It will be a little bit, but thank you very much. Appreciate that. Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
Planning Commission didn't have a meeting this month. So
Okay, that's an easy report. And Councilman Jenkins?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4, two commission reports, and then I'd like to add something else that came up today that bears on the town. First, the Parks and Recreation Commission met virtually on November 9th at 7:30 in the morning. And we had a new commission member join us, Hannah Hawkins. We had a presentation by Ms. Phillips about putting into the system improvements to Wells Memorial Park, the amphitheater and trail, and then connection with the proposed county park next door. So they're going to be, and so there was the consensus from the commission to move that forward. And there is ARPA money. I believe it's 350,000 in round numbers that's in the ARPA budget. So they're going to get that into the system, and I'm sure Ms. Phipps will correct me if I misstate that. And first step would be to have our ARPA consultant review that and make sure that we're crossing the Ts and get that forward into the budget process. So that's very positive. I also briefly talked about, Ms. Phipps and I are on the county's parks task force. They're developing 3 parks. The one park is to the north and adjacent to Wells Memorial. There's right now calling it La Plata Farm Park. We've had two meetings. The last meeting was the 14th of November, this past Monday. And we've got their initial, after our first meeting, we got concepts. They came forward with some additional concept materials. So there's two concept plans that are part of La Plata Park. Ms. Phipps and I made sure that the consultants, as well as the county's parks people, know that we are planning an amphitheater, gave them the generalized location, and make sure that we coordinate access via the trails, and also in the future to have some kind of programming coordination, because they're proposing some different things. So I just wanted to make sure the council was aware of that. The second commission report, I had a virtual meeting with the most of the members of the La Plata Town Center Corporation. We met again virtually, and the outcome of that meeting was they want to go ahead and get a good standing with the state. So we'll have to refile the forms, pay some penalties and fines, and then file a reinstatement request. Concurrently, though, we're very interested in rethinking and repurposing their focus, specifically talking about transportation issues, because we talked about the transportation plan and our joint planning commission town council meeting we had in early October. So I shared that slide with them last month. So they're interested in that. And also, again, we talked about the Main Street program and some interest in that. So what they would like to also do, that if they want to change their articles of incorporation and their other documents, they still would want to make sure that they're in alignment with what the town council would like to see. So they'd like to come talk to us on an agenda item. And I believe I inadvertently, or maybe I did it, I think I had already submitted a town council agenda request to talk about this. So perhaps if we can work out a date, we can get them to show up and talk to the council about their plans.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And then one final thing, Director Harrington and I today were invited and participated in a meeting at the Tri-County Council for Southern Maryland. It's what they call a strategic highway safety plan. The state has one, and a lot of Maryland counties have one, but unfortunately Charles County and St. Mary's counties don't have that. So the Tri-County Council has received a grant to get those safety plans started and in effect between now and probably spring. So this is a kickoff meeting. So we had representatives from law enforcement, healthcare, planning, and I said Director James was there. I mean, Director Harrington was there as well. So and in fact, be told that their consultant is Jamie Kendrick from Mead Hunt. So we have a little bit of familiarity with this. So we spent a couple hours talking about that. So the game plan is we'll probably have another virtual meeting, and we'll come together and develop a plan for Charles County. And that would make them eligible for funding. Unfortunately, those funding are not necessarily eligible for the town, but I would certainly urge us to coordinate with the county for different safety projects that we're interested in as well. There should be a partnership there. So I'll report back more on that as well. And then finally, the Tri-County Council has a bicycle pedestrian infrastructure advisory committee, which I've been a part of for a couple of years. And as of next month, I will be the chairperson of that commission or that committee. And our next meeting will be December the 8th. They meet quarterly. And Director Harrington as well has provided information about the radio station walkway and coordination for that. And so I'll be asking for her assistance to make sure that they're aware of our projects as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Sounds like you're quite busy. Appreciate all that. Upcoming events. Of course, we have Thursday is Thanksgiving, Saturday Shop Small. We really encourage everyone to come out and go find those villains with their kids and just enjoy. It's such a beautiful time of the year, a little hustle and bustle down there. There's some great deals that will be had for all right downtown La Plata. December 3rd, council is invited to a one-year anniversary ribbon cutting for Bayou Girl Drink Factory. They did not have a grand opening, so they would like to celebrate their one-year anniversary with a ribbon cutting. So that will be December 3rd. December 4th, of course, is our old time holiday gathering. And this year it's a little bit different because we're going to have, from what I understand, quite the parade with some emergency vehicles that will be coming down LaGrange. And I understand that the man of the hour is going to be there, Santa, and is going to help council light that magnificent tree outside. And then also just got word that December 21st, again, council is invited to join Secretary Gill. He is the Secretary of Commerce. He will be touring Al Pass facility. So if you are available, he would really enjoy, if you haven't met him, meeting him or coming out there. And then other than that, I just wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, shop local, and we will see you in December. With that, I move to adjourn this meeting. All right, thank you very much.